Hello, hello. Welcome to Your Neighborhood Stories podcast. Come on in, sit down and get comfortable. मैं काफ़ी दिनों से सोच रहा था about starting this podcast. And every time I mention this idea to someone, they ask me the same question. So what's it about? Who are you interviewing? Are you getting celebrities, entrepreneurs, industry leaders? And my answer always threw them off a bit. Because this podcast isn't about any of those people. It's about you. Well, not you specifically, unless you want to have your story told, but people like you, like me, like someone at work who sits three desks down, or your neighbor you wave to but have never really talked to that person. The regular people, the everyday hero who doesn't have Wikipedia pages or blue tick marks next to their names. And that's exactly what makes this whole thing exciting. I'm calling this Your Neighborhood Stories podcast. And before we dive in, our first real conversation, I wanted to take a moment to explain why this exists, why I'm doing this, what I hope it becomes, and most importantly, why you might want to stick around and listen. And for that, let me tell you a story. A few months ago, our apartment society organized this small event for kids. And this was led by someone from our building. Someone I'd seen around, said hi to in an elevator, and that's about it. They were great with kids. They made the interaction very fun and it was a really wholesome and interactive evening. And in that presentation, they gave us an insight on what they do and the kind of impact they have had. Also, where they work. It's an amazing organization and a pride for us Indians. And I'm standing there like, wait, what? Because I also know they are from a very small town. And suddenly I'm just standing there thinking this must be a hell of a story. How did someone go from such a small town to make it this kind of an impact in the world? What did they go through? What did they overcome? What did they sacrifice? What did they learn throughout their journey? This is a story that needs to be told. And that's when it hit me. That's the exact moment this podcast was born. And look, I'm not revealing this person because I'm really hoping one day they'll actually come on the podcast and tell their story properly. But that moment made me realize something bigger. Everyone, and I mean everyone, is a hero of their own story. But here's the thing, most people never get to tell that story. Not really, not in a way where someone actually sits down and listens and says, tell me more. Think about your own life for a second. The wins you have had. Maybe you got the promotion you worked for years. Maybe you finally paid off all your debt. Maybe you reconciled with someone you thought you had lost forever. Those are real victories. ये life changing events हैं and they change your life too. But who knows about them? Your immediate family, maybe a few close friends, and that's about it. There's no stage for you, no podium, no applause. You just keep moving forward because that's what we do. And what about the heartbreaks, the losses, the moments that actually brought you down to your knees? Maybe you lost someone you loved. Maybe you failed at something you poured your heart and soul into. Maybe you had to make a choice that cost you something really precious. Those moments shaped you. They are part of your DNA now. But where do they live? Usually just in your head, replaying when you're alone at night. We live in a world that's obsessed with extraordinary. हम scroll करते हैं feed में that highlights what people are and what they are at their peak. We watch documentaries about all the billionaires and listen to podcasts who have the New York Times bestseller in their bio. And don't get me wrong, those stories have value, 100%. But they've also created this weird gap, this silence around the stories of everyone else. Your story matters. The fact that you're not Forbes magazine cover page famous doesn't make your struggle less real or your victories less sweet. If anything, it makes them more relatable, more human. This podcast exists to give you that stage, to say your life counts, your story deserves to be heard. You are the protagonist, and I want to know what happened. Because here's what I have learned: every single person you meet has been through something. They have climbed mountains you know about. They have survived storms that would have broken others. They have had moments of pure joy and moments of unbearable pain. And all of it, every single bit of it, who made them who they are today. That's what I want to capture here: the real, unfiltered, messy, beautiful truth of being human. Not the Instagram version, not the LinkedIn highlight reel, the actual story. Now, the second reason I'm doing this is because of something I've noticed over the years. So many people, even you, have this voice in their head that says, I can't do this. Not because you don't want to, not because you're not capable, but because of your circumstances, because of your background, your resources, your starting point. I can't start that business because I don't have the capital. I can't go back to school because I have kids to take care of. I can't change careers because I am too old now. I can't achieve that dream because people like me don't do things like that. Sounds relatable? Circumstances are real, obstacles are real. Some people absolutely have it easier than others, and pretending otherwise is just being naive. But here's what I also know: somewhere out there, someone who started exactly where you are has done exactly what you think is impossible. Someone with your background, your limitation, your challenges had figured it out. They found a way. They've made it work. And their story, that specific story, could be the thing that changes everything for you. That's the power of hearing from real people with real circumstances. When you listen to someone who sounds like you, who comes from where you come from, who faced what you are facing, and they tell how they did it, suddenly doesn't seem so impossible anymore. It's not some untouchable celebrity who had every advantage telling you just believe in yourself. It's your neighbor, it's someone from your community, someone you doubted themselves or felt scared but did it anyways. That's the inspiration you can actually use. I want this podcast to be that bridge. I want someone sitting in their car on their lunch break, listening to an episode, to suddenly think, wait, if they could do it, maybe I can too. I want someone who's putting off their dream for years to hear a story and think, you know what? It's time. So, if this podcast can connect you to that one story that makes you think differently about what's possible for your life, then it's all worth it. If it inspires you to take that first step, to try that thing you have been putting off, to reach for something you thought was out of your reach, then we have done something meaningful here. Now, the third reason, well, this is a bit more personal, but I think it is important to be honest about it. I just really love having deep conversations with people. You know, those talks you have sometimes where you start with small talk but somehow end up discussing the meaning of life or what you are most afraid of or moment that changed everything for you. Those conversations where just time disappears and you look up and realize you have been talking for 3 hours. I live for those moments. There's something almost sacred about them. And I've had the privilege of having these conversations through the better part of my life. With friends, with strangers, with people I have met in most of the random places. And every single time I walk away feeling more connected, more human, more alive, more inspired. तो फिर मैंने सोचा, why not record these? Why not create a space where these conversations can happen intentionally and then share them so that others can listen and maybe feel that same connection? Because here's the thing about a really good conversation: it's not just valuable for the people having it. When you listen to two people being genuinely honest with each other, exploring ideas, sharing vulnerabilities, laughing together, there's something that happens. You feel like you're a part of it. You start reflecting on your own experiences. You see yourself in those stories. That's what I want to create here, a space for real talk, no scripts, no polish, no performance. Just two people sitting together having the kind of conversation that actually matters. So that's it. Those are my three reasons to give everyday people a platform to share their stories, to inspire others by showing what's possible when you hear from someone like you, and to have meaningful conversations that reminds us all of us about the shared humanity. Each episode, I'm going to sit down with someone from our neighborhood, our community, our world, and I'm going to ask them to share their story, the good parts and the hard parts, the victories and the defeats, the moments that made them who they are. Some of these people might be literally your neighbors, others might live on the other side of the world but face the same struggle you do. The common thread is that they are real people with real experiences who have something valuable to share. And I hope as you listen, you'll see yourself reflect in one of those stories. I hope you'll feel less alone in whatever you're going through. I hope you'll be inspired to keep going, to try harder, to believe more. And I hope you'll be reminded that your own story, your own journey matters as much as anybody else's. So if you want to have your story told, please reach out to us. The details are in the description below. I'd highly recommend you subscribe to our channel because the stories which are coming will blow your mind. Thank you for listening and see you in the next story.